This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Wednesday, September 7th, and today's pod is the best one yet.
It really is. This is a T-boy.
Actually, you know why yesterday's pod was previously the best one yet, Jack?
Why?
Because we were wearing sunglasses the whole time and no one listening had any idea.
That's true. It was on YouTube. We got some nice comments on YouTube, though.
If yesterday's pod sounded darker, it's because we were wearing shades the entire time.
Polarized lenses for the win.
Jack, what's our first story for the T-boy today?
The fastest growing coffee chain in America isn't Dunkin' Donuts.
No.
It's Blank Street Coffee.
Blank Street Coffee. They're trying to be the best coffee out there by not being the best coffee out there.
For our second story, guess what is a top Googled term in Germany right now, Nick?
Oh, this is wild.
Germans are Googling firewood.
Firewood, because we are witnessing the breakup of two economic frenemies.
Our third and final story. You thought buying a Porsche was expensive? Porsche's now going public for $84 billion.
Because the way Jack and I see it, Porsche cars have mastered the Porsche Principle.
But Yetis, before we hit that wonderful mix.
Just the best mix. I love this mix today, man.
It is hot outside.
Oh, it is hot. The west coast of America just had its hottest day, and get this, 1,200 years.
California is seeing its highest temperatures in a millennium.
Okay, Jack, yesterday we drove across the Golden Gate Bridge, hit 102 degrees on the other side of the bridge.
Nick, I'm pretty sure it's 122 degrees in Sacramento right now.
Just keep rounding up.
But that brutal weather, it reminds us of another strange weather phenomenon.
It turns out that when the weather gets crazy, people go crazy for Pop-Tarts.
According to Walmart, people stock up on Pop-Tarts right before big storms are going to hit.
Before a hurricane, the number one most bought grocery item at Walmart, it's the Pop-Tart.
Exhibit A, Hurricane Florence in 2018. Walmart shipped 350,000 emergency boxes of Pop-Tarts to the coast.
Okay, we did the math. That's over 2.1 million individual Pop-Tarts just sent to the state of North Carolina.
And it's not just any Pop-Tart that people crave before the storm.
It is not, Jack.
Of all the 40 flavors, people want strawberry Pop-Tarts.
All right, this doesn't make any sense to us, but strawberry Pop-Tart sales grow 7x in the week leading up to a big weather event.
Frosted grape is fine. Snickerdoodle's decent.
Yeah, but when the weather gets wacky, you want the sympathy of a strawberry Pop-Tart.
It turns out Pop-Tarts should be a staple in any fallout shelter.
Yeah, because the Pop-Tart can survive a disaster like a prehistoric cockroach.
It's not a strudel. It's a non-perishable lifesaver.
Yetis, wherever you are, however baking you are, stay cool out there.
And let's frost our three stories.
15 years before this song, two boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, there is a secretive coffee chain taking over right now, and it's called Blank Street Coffee.
Blank Street is becoming the best coffee by intentionally not being the best coffee.
Strange phenomenon. If you're in New York City, you're going to notice like one color taking over, like a locust.
Like a swarm of locusts?
No, just like a locust.
I don't think individual locusts take over.
No, it's just one locust.
It's Blank Street, and the branding of Blank Street is seafoam green.
Seafoam green.
It's like a masculine version of that millennial pink we know.
It's like dripping in chill. It smells like a direct-to-consumer startup.
To me, Blank Street's logo looks like mint chocolate chip ice cream.
That works well too, Jack. Well, Blank Street, it looks like a local independent coffee chain shop, and it gives off some mom and pop coffee vibes.
Yes, and they have charming espresso machines that look like they're straight out of a Williamsburg artisanal roaster.
So Blank Street looks absolutely incredibly local, but in fact, it is the exact opposite of small and local.
In just 2 years, these venture hawks have opened up 40 locations in just New York City.
Okay, Yetis, this is the fastest growing chain of anything in the entire metropolitan area, probably in the entire country.
And they're not cashing little $2.50 mom and pop tips.
Oh, they are not, Jack. Get this. Blank Street Coffee has raised a whopping $67 million from venture capital and private equity firms.
Now, here's the deal. Nick and I wanted to tell you how Blank Street is doing all this. And really, they have tech optimized the coffee concoction with a playbook straight out of business school.
Okay, the co-founders, Issam and Vinay, have optimized the 3 most important elements of a coffee business.
Before we go on, your local barista, they think of themselves as an artist, right?
Ah, yes, je ne sais quoi.
They do the fiddle leaf artwork on the top of the foamy latte.
You don't even want to drink the latte. You just want to stare at it, frankly, for 60 minutes.
Blank Street Coffee pretends to be an artist, but really they are ruthless financial scientists.
Darlene Duncan's looking at them and is like, no 2 pumps of hazelnut? What's going on here?
The first thing Blank Street did was optimize the price of their cups of coffee.
Exactly, Jack. They intentionally priced their coffee more than Dunkin' Donuts, but less than Starbucks.
For instance, an iced latte, at Dunkin' it's $3.75. At Starbucks, it's $5.50.
And at Blank Street Coffee, it's right in the meaty middle part of the curve at $4.25.
They also optimized the real estate of their locations.
They totally did, because when you walk into Blank Street Coffee, they've decorated the stores with succulents to make it feel warm like a library.
That's how I like to drink my coffee. But they didn't want to waste space because New York City real estate's expensive, and they don't want to give you a chair and a table for a laptop.
No, the Blank Street Coffee locations are 350 square feet. That is tiny.
And it's takeout only because they know you're trying to get to work anyway.
But it's not just the price and it's not just the real estate. They optimized on time as well.
Now, these baristas dress like your Williamsburg baristas, like they have a master's degree in macchiatos.
But it's not really the baristas making the magic. It's the automatic espresso machine technology that they've put into every store for $50,000 each.
The New York Times reports that these disturbingly automated machines can whip out 700 coffees per hour.
Yes.
8 of them can be brewed at once by just one human barista.
We repeat, one human barista is making 8 coffees at a single time. You're going to break your wrist on that thing.
Again, Blank Street Coffee, it's not a bunch of baristas. They are run by ruthless financial scientists.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Blank Street Coffee?
Blank Street's not the best cup of coffee. And that's the point.
Okay, so Yetis, last week I was in New York, went to the Blank Street on the Upper East Side on Madison, and here's what I told Jack after. The coffee tasted good, but it wasn't the best I've had.
Well, the founders are fine with that. In fact, they told the New York Times they don't need to be the most amazing cup of coffee. They just need to be a really good cup of coffee.
And that's the key insight here, because all of us often think in maximal extremes, like people want the highest quality or people want the lowest price.
But not everyone is a maximizer.
No.
A lot of people are satisficers.
Yeah, so Blank Street is neither the highest quality nor the lowest price.
But Blank Street satisfies a whole bunch of busy city folk in both quality and in price.
They're just good enough.
Blank Street is trying to prove that you can be the best
by being just good enough.
They're just trying to be good enough.
And that's the best.
No offense, Darlene.
For our second story, we just saw the end of one of the world's great frenemy relationships.
Because Europe just got its heat shut off by Putin's Russia.
All right, Jack, can you whip out the rankings here? Most Googled term in the country of Germany. What is it right now?
It's Rafael Nadal.
Okay, it's actually Rafael Nadal.
Yeah, the U.S. Open, they love tennis in Germany.
Germans love a back and forth.
Steffi Graf, Bjorn Borg.
They love umbrellas over there.
But the other frequently searched thing on Google in Germany right now, firewood.
Firewood is like a big Googled thing in Germany right now.
Are the Germans trying to have a bonfire? What's going on?
Google searches for the word firewood are up 4x in Germany this year.
Now, we are suffering from a summer heat wave in the States, but Germans are already focused on the wintertime.
There. And they're thinking about, are you thinking about clickety-clack we were talking about before, Jack?
When you light the fire on the stove?
Yeah.
And then you get that...
Oh, that rush. Yeah, that feeling. That's a great sound. It's extremely satisfying.
It's satisfying because it's natural gas.
Yeah, it is. When you're boiling water to whip up an herbal tea, that is thanks to natural gas.
And when you're heating your house, it may be thanks to natural gas.
But over in Germany and in Europe in general, much of their natural gas to heat their stoves and heat up their herbal teas, it comes from Russia.
Kind of awkward the last few months that it comes from Russia.
Well, all of that changed yesterday.
Vladimir Putin said he's stopping all natural gas flows to Europe unless Europe ends their sanctions on Russia.
Yeah, so like winter is coming, literally. Like it's September, winter's in 2 months.
And Putin wants to punish Europe this winter for messing with his war in Ukraine.
So like winter is coming on multiple levels.
We've never seen a geopolitical disaster so easily memeified as this one.
Jon Snow, do less.
Now we got to step back. For the first time in decades, because of this news, a top industrialized nation could have a cold winter.
And that's why Jack and I found this so fascinating. That is why Germans are searching for the word firewood literally more than ever.
They're looking for a backup source of heat if their natural gas runs out, and it's a real legitimate fear.
And here's the key. Germany gets over half of its natural gas from Russia, and now that is gone.
Yeah, now that Putin is flaking on Germany, Germany is turning to coal, and they're turning back on their nuclear power plants too.
Which is nice, Jack, but that's not going to be enough to keep Germans comfy and warm this winter.
And that's why the government has already ordered Hansel and Gretel to turn the thermostat down. It's a national order.
If you're in Berlin, it is literally verboten to leave the lights on overnight.
Yeah, German house music. It's German chili house music right now.
Jack, you're going to get in that shower. It's going to be cold. You're going to mock Schnell out of the shower.
You're going to mock Schnell on that frosty shower. Now, the government is trying to soothe people's concerns. So they've said they're going to prioritize residential energy and residential heat so that Hans and Franz can stay warm
But
this
then
winter.
that means that some factories are going to shut down this winter because they're not going to get enough power either.
This isn't an ach ja. This is a nish-nish.
Yeah. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for all our buddies in all of the economies of the world?
The world's two great frenemy ships are breaking up.
Okay, so besties, for decades, two sets of powerful frenemy relationships cooperated. Their economies worked together.
Frenemy relationship number one.
The U.S. bought cheap goods from China.
And frenemy relationship number two.
Europe bought cheap natural gas from Russia.
Economically, they were friends. But politically, they were enemies.
Well, the U.S. has been breaking up with China over the last couple years, and Europe is now breaking up with Russia.
These two sets of frenemies are ending their relationships, and it's shaking us up into a new, less globalized world order.
And the first place we're seeing it is in German Google searches for firewood.
Now, a word about our sponsor, Robinhood.
A lot of Yetis don't realize how much prep work goes into this pod.
We spend hours every morning jumping in T-Boy style to earnings reports, CEO tweets, breaking news headlines.
Yeah, Jack and I are toggling tabs like you toggled IM convos in 2004.
Having 8 tabs open can be stressful. You don't need that, especially when investing.
Robinhood offers it all in one app.
Whether you want to trade options, ETFs, or stocks through Robinhood Financial,
Or you want to buy some Bitcoin on Robinhood Crypto.
you can do it all on the Robinhood app.
If you're not investing in Robinhood yet, to get started, go to Robinhood.com/Tboy and choose your free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Limitations apply.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, all investments involve risk.
By the way, this podcast is not owned or part of Robinhood, and we are not employees of Robinhood.
For our third and final story, Jack, can I have a moment of vulnerability with you?
Yes, you may. Always.
Okay, so are we going to pronounce it Porsche or are we going to pronounce it Porsche? Because honestly, I just alternate between the two and no one corrects me.
It's Porsche,
Okay.
but you can call it Porsche if you want.
I've met girls named Porsche. I've met girls named Porsche. Honestly, I don't know what we do.
Well, as a German major from Middlebury College, I got to say Porsche.
You're not giving me that much confidence, but we're going to roll with it, baby. Third and final story. While all these companies are pulling out of IPOs, Porsche is pulling in with a Porsche IPO.
Porsche is IPOing because they nailed the Porsche Principle.
First of all, Jack, best Tom Cruise movie. And it's not, Top Gun was fantastic.
I watched Top Gun 2 over vacation. I loved it.
Me too, on the flight.
But you think it's risky business.
It's risky business.
The 1983 classic, we all remember his dad's Porsche, which I think he drives into a lake. Is that right?
It's a classic. He drives the Porsche to a lake. You're right. But also, he drove a Porsche in one of the Top Gun movies, too.
In both of them. And Scarface drives a Porsche as well. So does Nicolas Cage in Gone in 60 Seconds.
You're not going to steal the Constitution unless you're driving a Porsche, Jack.
But the most American thing that this German car company can do is have an IPO.
Well, Porsche's parent company, Volkswagen, just confirmed that the Porsche IPO is happening. Porsche is going to go public.
Volkswagen is going to spin off Porsche into a separately traded company, and within a month, it'll trade with its own independent, publicly traded stock.
But funny thing, Yetis, Jack and I saw this story, and frankly, we were shocked. In fact, we were shocked about two very specific things.
The timing and the size.
Yep. First, Jack, the timing. Why are we shocked about the timing?
We can't remember the last IPO we covered.
We have not jumped into an S1 IPO paperwork document T-Boy style in like months.
Because when stock markets are down, which they have been for a whole year, companies tend to cancel their IPO plans and wait for better markets.
Okay, so we were shocked about the timing, but also, we're pretty shocked about the Porsche size.
Analysts think that Porsche will fetch a $85 billion valuation.
Are you sure you don't want to say Porsche?
That's a niche.
But the context here, Jack, can you sprinkle on some context for us?
With $85 billion valuation, that would make Porsche more valuable than both Ford and General Motors.
With an $85 billion valuation, that would make Porsche worth nearly 3 times as much as Ferrari.
Talk about Ferrari, because they went public in 2015, and Ferrari is the closest comp to Porsche.
Okay, great point, Jack. They're both sports cars. Both are European. Both are in lots of movies, and both look really good in red.
But we found the one fundamental difference that explains the difference in valuation.
And here's that difference. There are way more Porsches out there than there are Ferraris.
Way more than we even expected.
So many Porsches. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Porsche?
The Porsche Principle is better than the Ferrari formula.
Yeti's the fundamental tension point in the entire luxury industry is that you got to sell a lot, but don't sell too much.
Right, because luxury loses its value if it loses the allure of exclusivity.
You got to say that the product is unattainable, and yet it has to be attainable enough to sell something.
So Ferrari has a formula. They only sell about 10,000 cars a year. Literally, they won't sell more than that.
Ferrari literally stays exclusive.
Meanwhile, Porsche has a principle.
Sell as many Porsches as they can. So they feel exclusive, but they're not actually that exclusive.
Porsche sold 300,000 Porsches last year.
Wow.
And yet it's still seen as an exclusive luxury brand.
And that is why Porsche is worth so much more than Ferrari.
Investors prefer Porsche's principle to Ferrari's formula.
Jack, can you whip up the takeaways for us over there?
If you live in a city, there may be a Blank Street coffee coming to your corner soon.
Blank Street's trying to be the best by just being, good enough.
For our second story, in Germany, they're Googling, "Wo can I find firewood?"
Yeah, translation, where can we get firewood because 2 great frenemy ships are now over?
For our third and final story, Porsche is IPOing at a shockingly high $84 billion valuation.
Investors prefer Porsche's principle to Ferrari's formula. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Jack and me. We decided to whip up the best fact yet. While Jack and I were researching Pop-Tarts for the introduction of today's podcast, we discovered a lot more about the pastry.
The $1 billion a year business has no expiration date.
Okay, technically on a Pop-Tarts box, if you look, you're going to see that they expire in 6 to 12 months.
But Kellogg also kind of admitted that a Pop-Tart will last forever.
Yeah, get this. Jack and I jumped in T-Boy style. On Kellogg's website, they answered a customer question about when Pop-Tarts actually go bad.
Here was their response. After the expiration date, the product is still safe to eat, but the quality may decline.
Okay, Jack and I aren't lawyers, but Kellogg didn't say that they're done, they're over, they're unsafe, toss it out after 12 months from that date.
Kellogg basically said they're safe to eat forever.
Okay, Kellogg's Pop-Tarts are not just a lifesaver. They know the secret to living forever.
And based on that last line, you can see we're really not lawyers.
Yetis, you look fantastic. If you've got the best fact yet, or if you just want a shout out on the pod, you should fill out the form right here in today's podcast episode.
It's a Google form. It takes 2 seconds. Your voice can be the best fact yet.
We want your voicemail. We want to get you on the pod with the best fact yet.
Nick and I, we'll see you tomorrow.
Cannot wait. And before we go, congratulations to 2 Yetis who T-Boyed together, Alex and Taylor, who just got dramatically engaged in Hawaii on Maui just last night.
Wow!
Let's see the ring.
And congrats to David Shibley, who just got his dream job in iBanking.
And Abby Miller just got a new job eating East Coast oysters.
And big shout out to Sam, the father of Scarlett, for letting me win my very first pickleball game last weekend.
Celebrate the wins and a happy birthday to Zidane Duda over in Manhattan, probably by a Blank Street coffee.
And happy birthday to David Pillip in San Francisco.
And hi, Sean Zhu. Happy birthday in Bellevue, Washington.
Happy birthday to Kelvin Wambura in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas.
And Billy Kuchner's turning 30 in Mastic Beach, New York.
Happy 33rd to Alexander Lester in Mesa, Arizona. And to anyone else celebrating something today, make it a T-Boy.
Celebrate the wins.
This is Jack. I own stock of Volkswagen and Ford, and Nick and I both own stock of Robinhood. Now, a word about our sponsor, Robinhood.
A lot of you listen to our show while you're driving.
2 hands on the wheel. Keep it 10 and 2.
You might be cruising, Chris. No rush. Stay in the right lane.
Or you might be Darlene from Duncan, dotting from lane to lane.
Yeah, there are different drivers on the road. There are different investors too.
Maybe you're cruising down the long-term lane with stock investing, or maybe you're a more advanced full-speed trader.
Well, the Robinhood app helps put you in the driver's seat wherever you're at in your investing journey.
If you're not investing on Robinhood yet, to get started, go to Robinhood.com/tboy and choose your free stock.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY. Limitations apply.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, all investments involve risk.
By the way, this podcast is not owned by or part of Robinhood, and we are not employees of Robinhood. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one brought to you by Jack and me. Jick and Jack, Nick and Jack, and both of us. We decided to whip up this best fact yet for you.
It's pronounced Benifer.